I got set up by my family and my ex-girlfriend behind extremism and organized crime. They leveraged my child in a scheme of which, they're associated with molestation, trying to drive me crazy and get me in trouble and push me out of the picture. And it's a really odd circumstance. Ties into multiple homicides in the Portland area, and then them trying to just make me out as a weirdo and say I'm a snitch and push away from the facts. And I'm going to talk about it. I don't care about it. I think all these, people involved are weirdos and rats and wannabes, and Portland's just full of bullshit at this point. I really don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. Once you fuck with my kids and create a psychological operation behind a bunch of fucking tweakers and crackheads and wannabe fucking gang members and retards that believe in their own bullshit extremism, I don't give a fuck how you feel about it because you got my kids involved. And so I'll be a snitch, I'll be a maniac, I'll fuck you up. I don't fucking care. I'm not scared of any of it. I mean, I caught these people trying to fucking frame me, so it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I'll call it like it is. Anyway, so basically, I proved a network of like a group of people that are involved in, the drug trade community, people who sell drugs, use drugs, and are involved in a variety of specific gangs, and basically that are involved in, corruption within the police force and the judicial force and organized crime as a whole throughout the Portland area. And it's a fucking joke because, I mean, like, it ties into my own family. I know what I'm talking about. Ties into schemes of realty, medical corruption, police corruption. It ties into some shit. Like, Portland is wired, laid out with some fucked up things in the way it organizes and the way crimes actually get done here. And I've proved that time and time again that I'm within a corrupt plot that is attempted to try to radicalize me as a crazy right-wing conspiracy theorist, take advantage of my childhood tied into my own family, and then being associated with, extremism going on for, over 50 years now in this area. And somehow now I'm deemed, schizophrenic when I have repeated, assessments and diagnosis and things throughout the years to say otherwise until this occurred. And I proved that I was tied to people involved in medical corruption, that tied to, murder for inheritance, murder in general, and a bunch of other bullshit. And they just started trying to make me out like I was a rat when they told me things they were doing to, cause me harm to my body, frame me, as well as proving odd circumstances that tied to death around my, friends and family members, while leveraging my children in this situation. And it ties to, again, extensive amounts of child molestation. I was offered a job while with my girlfriend. I mean, that's basically where this all came out to be from. It's really complex. It's kind of hard. That's what's made this hardest to illustrate. Is I don't know where the fuck to begin, because the fact of the matter is I've proved this, realistically has been going on directly with the whole of this, since 2010. But there's other factors that tie into my own family, that tie into, history. There's other factors around all of that. And then each bit of that from, 2010 to now, that's, a very long explanation of each, section of life. And so it's kind of difficult to really narrow down the fact of this. But the point is, I have two daughters, and each of the mothers of my kids have been tied into this network and criminal scheme, basically, that have, leveraged themselves over, leveraged my children over this situation and conducted a corrupt psychological operation rooted in their, these people's involvement in the drug trade, my family's involvement in extremism and crime, and taking advantage of all of this situation and just making me out to be a schizophrenic behind their involvement in repeated murders, death for inheritance as well. Not just, blowing somebody's face off, that too, but inheritance murders. Like I say, I don't give a fuck if you call me a rat. I don't fucking care. Like, once you set cards to, like, these people got my friend locked in prison for 12 and a half years as a lookout for a robbery that they went to, with him, and then turn around and get him locked away for the reward money. That's what I'm dealing with. These people have associates that they, do business with, that sell weed, that are cool with them in their neighborhood or whatever, and they, they tried to set me up to rob them at one point, and that's not successful. That was, fucking 15 years ago. And so then, but I tie the same people then to, an informant group who also say that this person was then given 20 years in prison unjustly because the police tried to, get them and couldn't. And then in return, there's in the news, this person was in an altercation in their house with with a Multnomah County courthouse employee who actually ends up dead in this altercation, and he's acquitted of the charges because of that. And then shortly after that, he's charged with child neglect and a bunch of bullshit and sentenced to 20 years. And these people say that he was framed and set up behind all of this situation, and I catch them involved in corruption and informant bullshit and trying to leverage and set me up. And my kids being, aspects to their births, to their names, to their circumstances being these paralleling games, and all these same people were involved that kept their relations or minimized them and all this from me, and I had to prove their criminal actions and circumstances around what was going on, like patterns of me everywhere I was going, people getting fucking shot. When someone would be like, oh, you want to come hang out at my house, where I, was hired at a job, supposedly, a cool random offer, and then it slowly ties into a criminal network of people. And then after going there a few times, somebody gets shot outside down the street. And then it'll happen again. I'll get another job through the same group of people, and I'll be delivering somewhere, and someone gets shot right where I deliver the next day. And just really weird things where it's like, they've basically tried to pull my card and make me out as a snitch. But then if if we have a history of, my involvement with the history and firearms and this and that ties into, basically circumstances that I've proven informants and police have created to falsify and frame me and make me out to be look to be in possession of a firearm that I'm not, while using it in orchestration of a variety of crimes and saying that I'm delusional and crazy. But I proved it, that I was set in a situation by these people, that I've actually had repeated arrests associated with these people in this criminal network who have orchestrated this through informant levels of taking advantage of my criminality in the past and leveraging that into situations where they can get me arrested so they can take advantage of whatever they're doing and get away with it. And that included me being arrested for felon possession of a firearm that was never recovered, of which now I believe is being used in shootings. But I pled guilty to it based on the fact that I had 2 loaded magazines in my pocket that matched the description of what type of firearm I had, and there was shell casings at the scene where the crime occurred because I fired my weapon. And so now at this point, you have, back in 2013, this situation where I'm drunk and in the street firing a weapon, and then that gets, that gun disappears, but I've pled guilty to possessing it, and I proved the same network of people are involved in the ongoing criminal plot and scheme of, framing and trying to set me up behind organized crime and leveraging my children into basically falsified relationships into a criminal network that were perpetuating and organizing, ongoing crime through, me being here and there and here and there. All the while, it ties to a complete level of medical corruption that has gotten, multiple people I know killed for inheritance through illegal. My friend's dad and grandpa died of separate causes in separate hospitals on the same day, which led to a shift in inheritance of what would have went to the dad, past the dad because of that, and left the grandpa's money. The grandpa lost his money because he died, instead of going to the dad because he died on the same day of a whole different cause. And went to my friend and his sister, of which there's 3 siblings, but the oldest sister received nothing because the family was child molesters, and she exposed as children that they were being molested. So after this, and she exposes this, then she receives no money. And then so, me and simultaneously as this is going on, me and my girlfriend are living at my grandmother's house. My grandmother comes down ill with the flu, develops pneumonia, has a heart attack in the hospital, and is moved to a care facility. Within 24 hours of her being there for rehab to, recover, after a 3-week stay in the hospital, she's sent back to the hospital. The nurse who cared for her was a friend of my girlfriend. My girlfriend and my friend's family who died have extensive family ties in ways that were basically minimized or kept low, and it was fucking, I had to kind of identify it through situations, people, places, and things, and then certain bits of that were still kept from me, like gang connections. And then I put all that together later, and I was like, no, there's more going on here. And so now it's kind of weird how it's like then my friend, has that happen with him, and then my grandma, and then simultaneously the boss that I'm working for at a company that I got through a job that ties into a whole organized crime network of the same people, tries to convince me to forge my grandma's will to be in possession of the house after she dies, basically, so I can take a large chunk of inheritance. Of which then at the same time, then my friend after he gets his inheritance, is deemed to be a child molester 5 months after having twin daughters with a girl who he's alleged to be molesting her daughter, who a day before that was talking with my now ex-girlfriend's aunt, who was a part of a child molestation network of which my girlfriend's grandma pimped her mom, pimped her aunt, this woman who came over, and a variety of other girls to the Mexican drug cartel, as I was told, and some weird shit going on when they were kids and teenagers. So Now you have a woman coming around that's been involved in grooming and all this shit, sets this whole situation my friends deemed to be a child molester. And it took me a long time to put this together. I really thought they were molesters, and I still kind of do, because each family has an extensive history of molestation, including mine. I was molested. It ties to each family having a history of it and weird shit, and them using it as a fucking weapon with kids that are very overly sexualized and weird. And the same kid later on tried to talk to me about a bunch of weird shit, and then I was deemed the problem for that after the fact. And it's just everything about these people is weird, and so it's really fucking odd. The same people my girlfriend tried to shame me and insinuate that when I was sleeping with my daughter in my sleep, that I had an erection and act like it had something to do with my daughter around the same time. And just a bunch of weird, I put together a weird pattern of they're really weird. They cover up their tracks and make it out to be that other people are doing it. And that's why it's I feel like they are molesters. But, anyway, needless to say, then basically, my friend, kills himself, allegedly. He goes around the corner of a building where no one can see, and he shoots himself in the head, allegedly. And then $565,000 inheritance is now shifted to this family. And I just find it really strange with the facts considered, when simultaneously I prove they're trying to frame me for the shooting of him, and then it ties into a bunch of other shootings that I identified that he was involved in with a group of these friends that they then used him for, set him up for, and then killed him and tried to set out to be that I was involved in it or frame me or whatever the fuck. As well as when it ties into, ongoing medical corruption at all at the same time of how this is all came out to be. And, my dentist that I have, my dental assistant, is this friend's sister's best friend. And then I identify as this goes on, me and my girlfriend move after this, and it's owned by a guy who owns a medical experimentation and company, an herbal fucking supplement company that's worth over $5 million. And then, and I've been sick for the last 10 years with mystery virus the doctor just can't figure out. And there's a lot more to that, where I identify people within the county, or, and they're avoiding, corruption, basically. And make me out as crazy. While the fact of it is, it ties into ongoing, seemingly medical experimentation, poisoning, weird fucking bullshit. And, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is then I have a daughter with my girlfriend. She comes out to be pregnant right after this when we move, or within a year after moving or so. And then she turns out pregnant after she helps me find my dad after 28 years that I had never found. Excuse me. She helps me find my dad after 28 years that I've never known. And then just after that, she becomes down pregnant. And then, me and my dad hit it off, whatever. We meet. I meet other members of my family. And then I'm offered a job delivering linen to medical facilities at hospitals. These medical facilities is the same corporation my girlfriend is set to give birth at. And mind you, this whole time, prior to leading up to all this through the years, and throughout all this, I was taught all these crazy conspiracies that mimic symptoms of, schizophrenia, delusion, and tried to be pushed in this realm of spirituality and God and super, radicalized into politics. And some of it because of my past and, being poor and family history and shit, I kind of was yeah, this is bullshit, But then, as I grew up, some of it I was no, it's kind of bullshit on you, too. You got to do the right thing. And I was in between on a lot, and I don't know, and that caused a lot of issues with some people I knew. But then they tried to radicalize me as a right-wing conspiracy theorist, basically, while putting me in this situation, and then telling me I was crazy when I put together this family network. That I was hey, the owner of this company, of this job I was given randomly, delivering linen where my child's being born, is people in your family. He's your dad's friends with his family. And then that ties into a whole network of a bunch of mutual friends that then also tied into people in my friend circle and their parents having mutual friends and being tied in the same medical circle. Those people also being tied to a circle of, odd situations where mutual friends of ours are being murdered in the street, and then their family members that are doctors are happen to be the witness on scene that tried to save his life, and that's in the news. And then, these people are telling me they're hitmen and they're involved in all this shit while, they're telling me that they're passing around guns that I used to possess involved in shootings. And so it's you're literally psychologically abusing me, trying to make me out to go fucking crazy, and then telling me I'm crazy for all of these things. While you're setting me up in this situation, you're minimizing the family associates, telling me none of it's happening. None of it's, really connected or anything. It's just all me and my mental health, and there's nothing going on. And then you'll mimic exact situations where one of them will be oh, I got to go to a funeral this weekend of a family member. and then I'll get home and my girlfriend will be like, oh, I got to go to a weekend this funeral this weekend of a family member. And I'm like, but you guys just said there's no connection here and there. And then they'll take me to the store and we'll have like, it'll be me, my girlfriend, and her mom, and and my girlfriend's best friend and her mom's best friend from both on the street say they grew up on, right? We'll both be right there. Now, the only connection is they both grew up on the same street individually at their own times in life, 40 fucking years apart, and they're both their best friends. But it was totally random also, and if I say something about it, it's my mental health. Simultaneously, I catch the same people setting up saying that I have mental health problems and I'm going to be locked away for it when I prove they conditioned and created them, and they're telling me they're doing all this bullshit. And then as well as the fact that, like, my children, which both have a name that means mermaid. And it mimics, it translates to the same thing or symbolizes the same thing through what it means or whatever. And so each one. And then they all have the same friend circles and people all around each baby mom, each thing all ties kind of to the same network, right? And I identify how it also ties to police corruption and organized crime and basically leveraging me through the justice system and a variety of informant networks of things that have caused arrests for me, of other people, of things in which I haven't told on people, but just based on the operation of how these people work illegally and sway the justice system through corruption and organized crime. It's been a fuel of a variety of circumstances of which I've proved through the same officers associated with these people, associated with my arrest, associated with ongoing odd circumstances, associated with all these things that tie into a whole psychological operation, of which even then the night that I'm arrested at 18 for burglary, I get a call from my ex-girlfriend at the time who tells me that she wants to talk to me. We need to talk. And then I go to jail for burglary that night. I'm arrested for the first time ever for a burglary when I've been doing it for years like crazy. And then I go to jail, and I'm arrested at the friend's house, who's her ex-boyfriend, who's the associate that I met the current girlfriend through now. And then I'm arrested there, and then she visits me in jail and tells me she's pregnant. And then I identify later on the same group of people leveraged and created this whole thing, and the names translate to the whole same thing, while they try to teach me all these crazy universals conspiracy and make me look like a delusional schizophrenic person and take advantage of my life. And the best part is that each of these families, they have a history of child molestation. Again, her grandma pimped all her own kids. They used the kid to make $565,000 behind alleged molestation. And then each family has a history of it all in all. And then when I start talking about saying I'm going to expose them for that and my family for the things that happened to me and what all this ties into and what they did and created this, because I proved my dad and my brother had associates and connection over the years that was kept from me when I was told there was no way to reach my dad. And I proved that that was a lie. And then I'm given this job and people from my dad's side of the family come work there that all have the same gang ties and tattoos, the white supremacy that associate to the same network. And I'm told I'm given gene therapy without my permission that advocates and supports the ongoing symptoms that I'm experiencing while they, basically then mimic and mock me with a variety of things. And like, I'll have a symptom arise and one of these people will know I'm experiencing. They'll just be like, does your skin really itch today? Mine really itches. And it'll become, you know what I mean? Like it became ongoing. Where then it'll be like, my joints hurt. It was just fucking weird, And so I'm like, that could be, mental health, whatever. But then when I identify that the people I'm getting my test results through my chart are tied to the same family network of relatives of associates through this network, I'm not crazy. It ties to the whole thing's involved. People involved in healthcare manipulating circumstances, taking advantage of a variety of things, and then trying to radicalize me as a delusional conspiracy theorist when I prove they basically murdered people I know behind inheritance, poison people, don't care, to drive them crazy through that, and a lack of healthcare behind it, as well as, use that to support their ongoing plots of, framing them for, a variety of, organized crimes. And then as I try to prove the networks and associates here, right, nobody would acknowledge a bit of it. Nobody would talk about it. Nobody would acknowledge who was who, what was what, And so I was like, well, how do I identify that you guys are related? You guys have the same gang tattoos, and something that I did yesterday in my own time when I identify I'm being stalked at work by mutual associates of this and that, like I'm on a delivery route, and a gang member that's affiliated with you guys followed me from here to there, and then the next one, he gets out and he's here, and it's like he's fucking following me, and it's weird, and I don't know why. And you're using that to imply delusion and falsify a character and a mental health problem to solidify a framing attempt. And it's absolutely insane because that, as it ties in again, the same time that I got arrested for burglary, months after that, my good friend gets arrested for robbery. He's arrested at the same friend's house whose family's involved in all this bullshit, who I believe, told on my friend told on my friend as an informant for reward money for a robbery he was a lookout on, and is now involved in this ongoing plot of people being framed, shot, set up all this bullshit. And he tried to leverage and set me up and act like he's some fucking crime boss, doing his friend a favor for, me being a snitch that wasn't, and leveraging other people in the situation and getting them shot by police, getting them locked up for shootings, getting, people killed and a bunch of bullshit, and then acting like I'm a fucking rat for seeing that they leveraged my child in that, tried to drive me crazy, put me in a situation where they can either frame me, use me, kill me, whatever, and say I'm a fucking snitch. It's like I didn't do anything to deserve none of it. I literally never told on nobody, never did nothing to nobody, and then I identify everything they're doing, and they deny and say I'm crazy. So I started talking crazy to get a reaction. I started saying stuff like, what would they do if I just ran up in their house and fucking blasted them? You know what I mean? What would he really do? You want to sit here and fuck with me? Like, how would he feel if I, told on him to, CPS to the police and got him locked up for all the shit he's doing? Or how would he feel if I, set some car and was like, oh, bro, I need your help. Let me borrow your pistol. And then went and fucking shot somebody and gave it back to him, how would he, and then called the police on him? Like, how would they feel, I was like, and then, while they're locked up, I was like, when his daughter becomes an adult or whatever, I could just, marry her since he wants to be family so bad and, do what he did to me and take advantage of his kid, because she'll be all psychologically fucked up, just like the shit that I proved connects to my family in every way of an ongoing plot of associates that tie into me being molested, groomed through family conditioning. This ties into my older brother extensively into situations of with a direct associate involved in the situation that I said. I was like, if I'm right and this is going on, this person was involved, and then they're murdered by this associate's friend I'm talking about. So I'm not crazy. I'm not wrong about none. It ties into a scheme of people who molest, groom, neglect, and condition kids and use them for organized crime plots that, yes, ties into prostitution of their own fucking children. And I had kids with them. And so then people took advantage of everything I said or everything they could about my childhood to falsify a narrative. Well, then they harassed me for over 20 months after the fact of me proving that and proving police corruption of somebody showing up here, getting me on speakerphone, talking about all these, trying to incriminate me and things to make me sound crazy. And then when I start identifying how they tie into plots of this and that, they'll shut their fucking phone or do weird shit. It's like, you literally just got a new number and got this weird little corny flip phone. We're being followed around by police while you have a suspended sentence for 80 months and you tell me you're wanted for a Measure 11 and the police are right here not getting you. You'll ask me to go somewhere in your work truck for you. I go pick it up and get it and the police follow me. And then the person at the place where, I went start following me to a point where I get a new job. They get hired with me. I go to another job. They start showing up as a customer. Just weird chicks. Like, you're trying to falsify delusion through organized criminal extremism of a network of people. And I prove that it's tied to me exposing medical corruption, police corruption, and an organized criminal network of people being falsely arrested, falsely prosecuted, fucking murdered behind this shit for, organized crime to hush them as well as to make money off them. And now I'm deemed crazy when they leveraged my kids in it, took advantage of me, and made me out to be crazy for no fucking reason beyond them being rats from the get-go. And then take advantage of, the same people that are, putting me in positions, holding me down as a kid, putting shit in my fucking ass, molesting me, touching me, teaching me how to hump things, putting me in situations like that, exposing their genitals to me, showing me porn, doing weird shit, putting me in situations with other kids as I get older. And then now that I expose those things are going on, oh, they're not going on. I'm just a weirdo and I have problems. And you didn't set my kid to do the same fucking thing that I proved in a network of people, of family associates that all have the same history. And so that's why I say it's like, I don't know. It's like not full-blown always molestation in every way, because it's a weird way they groom and do things, but it's a sick way of life that's kind of hidden from society and not mainstream and not normalized. And then people have said I'm crazy for exposing the things that these people do with their own fucking children and families. And, and how it ties into just basically massive amounts of, mental health problems, drug abuse, criminality, and just a variety, of extremist, sects and groups of society that have basically just avoided accountability for the fact that, they leveraged me in a criminal plot of using me, in the way I described in a variety of other ones of repeatedly, hurting people and taking advantage of them and then playing victim at the fact that I said once I caught on to it and I was like, I should fuck these motherfuckers up. And they're like, we're going to get him in a crisis so we can kill him. And so, or we can lock him up and say he's guilty of things or he's just so fucked over of this and that, and we're just going to kill him. And they literally talked to me about specifics around this and that, around stuff, while then trying to falsify guilt around it too. And it's like, I know what you're doing. So now it's like psychological torment to have police involved in a network of people harassing you around things to falsify a mental health crisis, guilt, and delusion, when you've proven the police have using the things that you said to them, and when they were called on you about this by the people involved, and then and use that to falsify a narrative and work with the people's narrative involved in it to falsify a crisis and avoiding a context and accountability of all, while harassing you with like facial recognition of like people who match, circumstances of crime victims that fit into the network of people I know, parking outside my house after people, get shot that are associates, and when I leave, swarming me with cars and then just driving off and doing nothing, doing repeated, games with, the same, crackheads and criminal network motherfuckers of around here that then trying to falsify that I'm against the homeless and I'm victimizing them and targeting them in the street when they're literally harassing me and then corruptly working with police and doing things in ways to try to make me out as crazy, as a snitch, discredit me and all of this, and just, it's complete, like, clusterfuck psychological abuse. And that's what happens when you expose, corruption that entails murder and, millions of dollars worth of inheritance. And I've done that. And now that that's, been created and happened, and ties into the medical field and a variety of families, they're now trying to, like, capitalize on the aspects of it where I tie in, families that talk about being in the Italian mafia. I've known my whole life that are, you know what I mean? Which is like, people don't really talk about that anymore, but then they're also associated with a bunch of crazy shit, and then all this goes on now. Now I catch people trying to find ways to, like, take, what I talk about with Italians and, like, throw in some weird mannerism of, like, that I'm just, like, it's all the Italians, and I'm just like, you know what I mean? And it's like, same way with just, like, it's just corny, like, they're trying to take away from the facts. And basically, I proved, that this ties into medical corruption, ongoing, poisonings of people and causing them fucking, heart failures and deaths and labeling them fucking fentanyl addicts and, like, just doing a bunch of bullshit. Like, it's, it's excessive, it's wrong, and it's manipulative, and it's a weakness to then people come together in a forum where they can decide that they play the streets at both angles. Like, I'll be a criminal and a snitch too. And then they'll play victim officer. He said it. He said this and that. We got him on camera so we can take advantage of him and say he's the rat. But we work with police all day. But whatever reaction we get out of any of this, we'll use to falsify that he's a criminal, he's delusional, while working with police to make him out, as, guilty. And then also telling everyone else he's the rat. And it's a fucking joke. Like, they leveraged my kid in this situation that I proved tied to a whole network of, corruption and extremism of a variety of white supremacy gangs to tie in through my arrest history repeatedly and incarcerations of things that I proved tie into corruption of down to the house that I live in now, all these things to falsifying, a falsified mental health crisis behind a criminal framing that ties into people that work in the county, doctors, a whole falsified network of people to support an extremist plot of degrading and slamming someone in the ground and using them behind a created narrative through family extremism and organized crime of a network of people that literally told me, well, it's not like we planned this your whole life, when I proved it's like comes together through my whole fucking life in a network of things, ways, people, places, and things that they use to then falsify a mental health crisis. And I can prove that time and time again, like being harassed by mutual associates to, my brother, that I remember him talking about. I proved tied to the whole same family friend network of not only him, but other people involved. And then when I bring him up, he's like, oh, I don't know him. And I'm like, I remember you talking to me about him. I remember you showing me his CD. I remember running that motherfucker in traffic with you. I see he's connected with all the same people you know. And now he's fucking with me after I prove all this. And I say, I'm going to expose you for being weird and having a stack of child porn that big. And then you tell me, oh, that's not mine. That's my roommate's. And I'm like, wait, so the roommate that I confronted in your house because you allow him to smoke meth around my nieces and nephews that you're now accusing me of being weird to because I exposed the fact that you exposed yourself like a weirdo when I'm a kid and had child porn all through the fucking house. And now, after the fact of that, want to tell me it's another man's who, when I confronted him on being a meth head, you were fucking sad about that. Let alone we're not confronting him on having child porn being around your kids. So either way, you're enabling, condoning things down to a level where you're like, come the fuck on. Like, you're lying to me. And you tied to a family network of people that leveraged my fucking kid of knowing my dad for 28 years, of me not knowing it while you had ties to him, then saying I'm crazy, and then proving that our family and this family have multiple ties on my dad's side and my mom's side, and it has ties into my friend circle, and all ties into this medical corruption every which way, down to me then moving on a street and being offered a job at random that ties into a whole family network again, that ties into medical corruption, and then people that live on the street tie into the same places of the routes that I'm at, that tie into, the stops and whatever. And it's like, this was orchestrated and designed to falsify delusion and schizophrenia. When they taught me a whole conspiracy realm of things to mimic that before, of tying letters into numbers and meanings into the occult, conspiracy, and religion and politics. There's an underlying meaning here. You just have to find it. And, it was interesting for a minute there, but then I realized, I was like, you're trying to drive me crazy. And I started seeing all this. I was like, you're really trying to drive me crazy. And you predicted I'm going to be locked up for mental health problems while I proved you're a part of an orchestrational plot of framing and setting me up. And then now giving me all these fucking, like ongoing health issues where I'll experience symptoms. And again, the people know them as I'll start experiencing eye pain one week. And then somebody will be like, I don't know, I've been kind of thinking I'm going to go blind or something. I don't know. It's just kind of weird, And then, I've just been having all this issue with my eyes, and I'll notice, I'm like, that's weird, because my eyes have been bugging. Why'd that happen? This person knows the same people, and I wasn't experiencing this before, and that's, it's the same thing that happened when they brought up the joint pain. It's the same thing happened when it happened with the stomach pain. It's the same thing, you know what I mean? Just, weird fucking shit, I'll drink water around somebody, and then my mouth will burn, and they'll be like, I'm really thirsty today, are you thirsty? And then I'll notice it that, I'll work with that person again. I'll drink with it again. Same thing. Something's wrong with my fucking drink. And they'll say it again. And I'm like, why is this and I identify this pattern of these associates tied to this level of extremism and slander. And then taking advantage of the fact that basically a family network of people with a history of organized crime, of setting up my own family to be, murdered for inheritance, my friend to be murdered for inheritance, of molestation that ties into, my own family being molested, me being molested, kids around them being molested, ongoing, sexual, grooming and conditioning and allowing of kids to be involved in sexual relations, and then creating the birth of my kid, networking in a whole, situation like this, to falsify that I'm delusional around it when I prove there's a network of people around it that are involved in the same shit, that had the association then of also my friends being murdered in the street, and ways they're working with police behind leveraging me in a situation to look like I'm responsible for some of these, and in a mental health crisis when I prove it, and then trying to create a wedge between me and certain races and groups of people and this and that, and to say it's all a mental health crisis and I don't know anything that's going on. And it's levels to this shit of what's being done to be just total delusion of what's actually happened here. But the fact of it is, it ties to people who have put my kid in this situation to, do whatever the fuck they're doing. I mean, these people have repeatedly murdered people and done weird fucking things, behind criminal extremism. It's really what it comes down to, and organized crime. And they tried to leverage me in that and frame me behind it. And, set my kids in a psychological operation that ties to corrupt police, which I've tied to, the same families coming to me while I'm at work in private. And they have other people that are, private security guards and stuff. They'll just come up and just, walk up to each other like they don't know each other and start talking about my situation. And then talk about, a guy being murdered for mental health problems. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I was there. And I ended up having to shoot him because he was just going crazy, and he just had all these. And I'll read about it. And I'm like, yeah, that guy was deemed shot dead for mental health problems. These people tied directly into this family network of people. And he just said everything I said on the phone to police after they called me back after 911 was called on me. And 911 calls are public information. Private calls are not. You just harassed me with, slander around murder. You literally murdered a motherfucker behind mental health problems. Just like how I know what this kind of shit ties in. And that's what gets me. Is I'm not a snitch. I haven't told on my friends. I said I could once I proved they're involved in the situation of basically leveraging me because they want to take advantage of my own childhood and decide because they're not as affected by things that didn't happen to him, or they were pushed into, easier situations. And now they're going to be like, oh no, we think you're a racist, homophobic, homosexual. And we think you're weird. And so now we're going to falsely accuse you of, child molestation and say, or, targeting your animals and targeting all your neighbors because of their race, and you're just a snapcase. And then we'll pinpoint everything we know about you that's a trigger, that's a bother. We'll even take things from a mental health forms that I've proven that ties into corruption, take things I told, family, doctors, take, that are in the situation, and use it to a whole network to then just harass you around behind your mental health to try to get a reaction because it ties to a network of people committed to destruction of your life based on slander and bullshit. And the fact of it is, you know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. If you put me in a network of people where I prove you're involved in murdering people fucking harassing me around it, bullying me, murdering my family, setting up the birth of my kid, bullying me personally for my own traumas and abuse that you're partly a part of, while leveraging my kid and showing me you're basically going to do it again if I react or go crazy, and then play victim off everything I said to support a narrative that I'm supposed to now be in victimhood of things I haven't done, or scared that I'm going to be framed for things I haven't done, or just made out to be in a crisis for it, or whatever the fuck. I don't fucking feel bad. You don't get to drive people crazy and push them to a point where they fucking react or they feel the need to get a react and sit there. And I'm like, all right, if you're going to lie to me, I know you'll react if I threaten you. If I tell this person, yeah, well, I wonder how he'd feel if I called the cops on him or I came to kill him. You know, I mean, shit, how would he feel if I, tried to fucking pimp his daughter? Now I got all this whole narrative of all these people saying all the things I said. It's like, why aren't we talking about what led up to it? Why doesn't that matter? Because the city of Portland has become a fucking joke of extremism. People would rather be like, no, I think he's racist, or, I heard something weird about him that, that we think, he, did something weird when he was a kid. He touched somebody when he was a kid. I don't give a fuck. It's a fucking child that was molested my damn self. You're gonna fucking harass me around shit that literally is minimal, that is nothing, that isn't, that ties into exploration with other kids and other shit. Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in a mental health crisis. I'm in a slander crisis and harassment crisis that is avoided context of things that tie to bigger issues like active molestation, child grooming, conditioning, murder, and just complete abuse of power and abuse of the justice system, and medical system that's allowed an ongoing plot of, said medical murder and corruption and inheritance, shifting and just total bullshit. And now I'm deemed fucking crazy for that because I proved what they had done to me in my life and other people around me. And they just wanted to basically say I'm in a crisis because I'm scared that, people are going to think I'm homosexual when I don't give a fuck. I'm not. I don't care if you think I am. People are going to think I'm a bad dad when I don't give a fuck what you think because my daughters love me. And at the end of the day, I take fucking great care of them whenever I'm with them. And I'd never harm them. And I'd take on the fucking world for them. And that's why I'm posting this. So at the end of the day, I think the city of Portland has become a fucking joke behind organized crime and extremism and a variety of bullshit ass, ass backwards cultures that people will manipulate into saying, victimhood of saying you're racist, that it's about their race and not about the actions of which of things they do themselves. Which I want to add that I grew up in a fucking pretty diverse ghetto neighborhood around a lot of gangs, and I grew up trying to be that way, and I shifted away from that in a lot of ways, and I'm still me. I don't give a fuck. I understand. I respect you. I love you for who you are. I don't care if you're in the streets, you got this and that, but be accountable, be honest, and try to be a good person. And you don't rat on your fucking friends. You don't manipulate your fucking friends. You don't take advantage of your fucking friends or your fucking family. You don't manipulate children or try to molest them and take advantage of psychological trauma and keep it going behind organized criminal plots of networks of people that fuel organized corruption. Will literally set up the birth of a kid in a family network of people basically to fuel an ongoing pattern of the same kind of things. Of people basically being leveraged and determined that you're so-and-so's kid, so you got power automatically. You're so-and-so's kid, so you got power automatically. You got to earn your respect. We're going to put you in bullshit after bullshit, get you locked up, use you for this and that. And now that you proved it and we put you in weird shit, like after the fact of proving this whole family network and then saying you're psychologically, in a crisis when we're following you around with the car with a bumper sticker in front of you on your work routes to say, babies are a gift from God. And you can't do nothing about it. You're working, driving a delivery truck, but you're being harassed by your family involved in religious extremism, making you out as a weirdo to deny their own molestation of you and their own grooming of you and allowing you to be put in these situations and taking advantage of it to then, shame you for it and take your kid away behind it, make you out as a weirdo and lie and exaggerate and manipulate everything. While then, they orchestrate the whole job and say you're crazy. And you prove that it's like this goes from Beaverton to Portland to Tacoma to here to there. Like, why is it this same fucking car with the same bumper sticker everywhere I go? I'm in a mental health crisis, I guess. I haven't proved that it's conditioned and orchestrated. Why do I prove I'm being stalked by associates? Why do I prove I go somewhere that nobody should know I went, nobody nothing, and somebody involved directly comes up the next day and tells me they know exactly what I did? How? What? Why? Because I'm being harassed in a psychological network of things to falsify delusion and schizophrenia. I proved all of it. And I've been harassed endlessly behind corruption and organized crime within the Portland police ever since to evade the fact that they have, corruptly experimented on me, poisoned me, allegedly give me gene therapy. For all I know, my children aren't even fucking mine. Taking advantage of me, property, create a variety of circumstances, then just run away with it and just be like, no, we're just going to frame you and solidify and say you're crazy and responsible for all this and that and falsify a mental health crisis behind things we heard you say years ago, things we took advantage of other people, things you said, things this and that. We're going to falsify a whole narrative and act like you're actively out to get this person, that person. You're mad about this and that and just run with it and won't leave you alone. And then in return, just say you're in a crisis either way behind it. and use it to support, an ongoing plot of criminality and extremism that ties into millions and millions of dollars, And it's the same thing. Like the house that I live next door at right now, after moving from where my friend died, committed suicide, that house is put up for sale. The realtor next door, the realtor that comes and sells it, is my friend's old neighbor where he killed himself. The neighbor that lives over here is my lawyer from the case when all this shit started. She comes and moves in after that. The neighbors over here were the kids that come and throw bottles directly in my driveway and break them are family friends of my girlfriend's family. The homeless people that are being used to say that I'm against the homeless are, live in that neighbor's yard and that has a broken fence that share the property between the family that, knows my ex's family and the homeless people involved in, the ongoing stalking and harassment and trying to set me up to look delusional and crazy and perpetuating crimes. All these places I go to either frame me or to say I'm in a mental health crisis and I'm finding personal meaning in things because they're creating that to ignore the fucking fact of what actually occurred and acting like they're doing me a favor when they won't quit bullying me and saying I'm crazy and have my kid in a situation where then they're basically causing me physical symptoms, mocking me for it, making me out to be that I deserve it or I'm a snitch or I've done something weird or this and that, when they're literally exaggerating, manipulating circumstances, or taking things that don't fucking matter, or they don't got fucking place in, or if they had, and as well as with everything it considered, it's just wrong. It's literally delusion and insanity behind a bunch of criminals and extremists and losers that just want to cover their own shit up and avoid the facts of the matter that they just get off being punks and taking advantage of people, and would rather than say that you're that way and avoid this and that and manipulate your words. I got the same person, saying that I was wearing a wire on them that seems like they were wearing a wire on me. Because I said I could tell on them because I caught them framing me for the murder of my friend who was deemed a suicide. But then they literally I tie a direct plot through them in the same network of people that got the motherfucker 20 years with Portland police to frame to trying to fucking frame me. But then I'm crazy? No, fuck you guys. It's not a mental health crisis. I get riled up because I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? Anybody would say what the fuck over this. But they try to create that and falsify that so they can put you in a situation, put a fucking drop gun on you, shoot you, do whatever, because I've proved that they've done the same thing with people involved that they've used for fucking as shooters and fucking, a variety of things. And then the people starts having all the shit going on in their life. And they're like, something's going on. My family's being poisoned. Something happened to so-and-so, something, this and that. And they start tripping out. And they're like, this shit is weird, something. And then they're deemed to have a crisis and locked up for something crazy or fucking killed. And it's like, it's organized crime of families that are, leveraging extremism and power in places that basically play chess with society and kick motherfuckers to the curb. And they're trying to kick me. And I ain't going to go without calling them what they're doing. And I don't care if they call me a rat. I'll be Henry Hill. I just need Joe Pesci to come pop up with the 38 real quick so I can smack something. I don't care what it sounds like. I mean, let's be real here. Come fuck with me. I'll fucking kill you about my kid. Like, I don't care. This shit is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you don't play fucking kid games with a grown man. I turned my life around for a fucking reason. And I got people that think a fucking pair of Jordans and fucking, the newest fucking this and that is more important than being a fucking good dad at the end of the day and trying to, prove there's something, be a part of this and that. I just want peace. I don't care what I do. I just want a decent job, decent home, decent whatever. I just want to be happy. I want to grow and go through like I do, go through therapy, go through all my shit you know what I mean? Like I work on myself endlessly. I endlessly try to learn, endlessly try to read. I endlessly try to make myself a better person or find a balance of comfort of what works with me and help those around me. I endlessly try to, grow and progress. I don't fuck around. I don't lie to myself. I don't manipulate that. These people do, and they manipulate others. And in the ways that I catch myself in situations where I say I could or say whatever, it ties to my trauma, my history, my childhood. And they basically just taking advantage of this whole, network scheme of things, and it's fucking bullshit. I'm waiting on the mailman. The mailman's outside, but it was across the street. But yeah, and it's just like Portland has become insane. Like I could go all day. I could go into detail about this. I could go about like this. Literally, like I've been stopped with a pattern of, after the fact of proveness of murders. Like I literally had a girl get murdered down the street from me. And a girl comes in and tells me, you don't care when it happens to somebody else, but you'll care when it happens to you. After I literally talked about this people, and I was like, how would they like it if I framed them for murder? If I came after them and tried to fucking kill them? Then somebody comes in and says that, and somebody gets shot right down the street. And then they did the same thing like 2 weeks later with somebody else. Like, I'm not crazy. And then they, somebody gets shot right down the street from my house. And then they hit me with a car at the same exact corner where that person gets shot a week after. And then after that, then they start stalking me with the same car the person got shot in, and then try to use that to act like I'm in a mental health crisis or guilty when I don't give a fuck. I didn't shoot the motherfucker, and I don't care. Like, I mean, yeah, I feel bad. Wish you the best. You didn't get it, but what fuck can I do about that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's a fucking joke. Portland has been overrun by organized crime and extremism, and the majority of these people are, tied to, decent jobs, good homes, good families. They just push a fucked up narrative based on their own bullshit, and it does tie to families and people that are dangerous, that are involved in, I mean, I've proven a corrupt network around, falsification, potential of falsification of test results, potential of, doctors setting cards of, denying healthcare, creating, poisoning people, murdering them. Like, I've proven there's something weird going on with a network of people. And it's been, that ties in, police corruption, the same network that ties into falsified prosecution and illegal psychological operations that ties directly into, the drug trade and them using, drug addicts to homeless, gang members, a variety of these things as a weapon. It's basically the fucking mafia, but it also ties deeply into extremism. And it's a bunch of shit, And then that's all just made to make you look like you're sensitive in a crisis. And that's why throughout all this, I prove that they've taken everything about that I've talked about that's triggered me, that's bothered me, and harassed me around it, and said that I'm triggered, I'm bothered, and I'm in a crisis, while continually, making my physical health worse by causing me weird symptoms with the things they've done to me in weird fucking ways. And then acting like I'm delusional when it's organized crime to poison a person at that degree. It's organized crime to, you know what I mean? Like, tying to the level of medical experience I've experienced over the last 10 years, and then use that to basically say I'm in a mental health crisis while I'm proving there's something going on with me and people around me are dying. And, like, repeatedly associate, like, just like, here's a really cool fact where I have, a person that lives with us, me and my girlfriend. She leaves and she dies of heart problems. After that, my girlfriend, we break up, she leaves. She decides she's going to get on a heart monitor for some reason. She has to wear an electric heart monitor on her chest. And then our dog starts developing heart problems. Then a friend of mine who's associated with the same network dies of heart problems. And then I start developing weird cardiovascular, I had neuropathy for a bit, and then I started developing basically, where I noticed shit with my circulation and like chest pain for a bit there. And then I cut some things out and it kind of improved. It became a new thing. Well, then I noticed the same group of people always talking about, bringing up disabilities and all these things and like doing this way they do things where they prey on mental health. And that's how they utilize criminality now, where everything is all just mental health and you're just crazy. And they've basically flooded the field of, mental health, doctors, police. Like, they have corrupt hands in those aspects where they can try to take advantage of it and falsify a total fucking crisis. And I actually caught them doing that down to an extreme, and I have proof of that down to multiple entities of, I mean, like, I have proof of the same network of people that have said the things that I said to police and harassed me around it and used it to falsify delusion, then mimicking and mocking me about being harassed around lookalikes, but then simultaneously I was able to trick them with a lookalike of them thinking it was someone else and convincing them to fall for the same plot to prove that it was going on after they already brought it up, and then simultaneously going to a medical facility and having them see me and then tell me I have to wait 3 hours to see somebody else, and when I wait these 3 hours, a person who comes from off-site has to come, who fits into the same network of, of accusations of falsification of lies or manipulation and exaggeration and falsification of guilt, who is in a mental health setting, who fits a description of this exact person, because it ties into organized criminal extremism in Portland and a falsifying guilt narrative of people taking, they're taking advantage of people. Their physical health, their mental health, is organized murder is going on in Portland through the healthcare system and policing system, and they're avoiding it. And it's not just like I have literal proof of this down to people, places, and things, down to my own family and circumstances around that. And now I'm being made out to be a crazy person while they try to take away my livelihood and have repeatedly tried to, they've made me lose job after job. I've proven ongoing stalking and mechanisms tied to everything I told police to falsify a mental health crisis and take a narrative away from the facts of what was occurring and just run with all these little things and be like, see, he's crazy. And it's belittling and it's scary because, like, if you can actually try to get away with that, I'd look like a nutcase, but I don't feel like I'll ever talk or sound that fucking bad compared to the narrative of the facts they're considering versus the actual details of everything I'm saying. When you get in the specific of this person's death, money, what happened, this person's death, murder associates, what happened, everything that's gone on. Like, I'm not wrong or crazy. This ties into a network of people that literally, will like move in a street and have 5 people on a street together that have no connections besides one person knows one person that knows one person knows one person, and somehow they come together in a way where they're passing guns around, they're selling drugs, they're poisoning people, they're organizing fucking car crashes, they're doing the craziest shit, and you would never fucking know because those 5 motherfuckers that know those other 5 that have the connection to connect the dots between another fucking 10 throughout the fucking neighborhood that then have their connect the whole fucking shit through the city. And it's organized crime, but the fucked up thing, like, I grew up in crime, and things were not quite like this in Portland before. And maybe I just wasn't as connected to it before as well. But the things of what's going on and how it ties into children and families and actual just abuse and neglect and conditioning and a continual pattern of manipulation of basically reality to take advantage of mental health and then utilizing corruption to support it and keep it going. It's a human fucking crisis. It's not anything else. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, when you have, I proved that this ties in, people moving in housing right next to me that are, mental health workers that work for the county and people that then tying in, health corruption that are, high level, health workers within the county now that are tying into the same medical experimentation proof bullshit network that I proved is ongoing of now people falsifying a narrative of guilt because I made a joke about having to go back to the doctor that I was going to get more action there than I got in my relationship because one of my symptoms I experienced was constant genital pain and all this crazy groin and fucked up shit I had going on where I kept going in there like, what the fuck is going on? I have a lump here, I have this and that, and they're like, we don't know. So I make a joke about going to, get action at the doctor. And now I'm stalked and harassed with, lookalikes from the doctor's office. Like it's a legitimized investigation because they're just running with fucking straws here. Just whatever they can do to just be like, oh, he's this and he's that. And it's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not out to, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, of course, as an adult, if I consider like, if I had a hot doctor and I was there for another reason and she just decided, I'm not going to fight it. But I'm not there for that. I'm here because I'm in pain. And maybe if I'm in enough pain, maybe I will fight it. But don't fucking play me and act like I'm a fucking freak that goes to the doctor because I proved I'm a part of a fucking medical scheme that's fucking wreaked havoc on my body and experimented on it, allowed it to keep going through a network of people that are giving me drugs and edibles and different things that tie into the same network of experimentation that are, lodged with these different things causing me these symptoms. And I prove it's all connected to a network. And now you want to run and pick straws like that and say, no, we're going to say you're a sex offender that's targeting this person and that person, and you're out to, get your doctor, and you're targeting your own children, and you're targeting your friends' children, and you're a racist extremist trying to murder people because you proved a plot of, us murdering people and trying to set you up to look crazy behind all of that while leveraging medical conspiracy and doing all this shit. And, who really knows what we're throwing on your back and what it's just that we're doing. But now that, we've leveraged your kid in it and tried to drive you crazy and you've proved all of it, you're becoming quite the problem. So we're just going to say you're a fucking nutcase and ruin you. And it's not going to happen because I proved that the fact of the matter is that this shit is highly corrupt and illegal and ties to a variety of organized criminal families in the Portland area that just, are fucking snitches and rats that are known to be informants on habitual levels. Each one of these motherfuckers getting people fucking habitual fucking prison time and getting people, so-and-so got killed because mental health problems. So-and-so this and that. It's like, fuck you. You guys are rats. I don't care if the police are a factor in the criminal fucking field or whatever's going on out there. I don't care. I've never bowed to that shit. You ain't going to have me out there snitching on my friends or setting people up or whatever. And just because I said I could or I should or I would doesn't mean I actively want to. But the fact of the matter is, as I've grown and changed the things I've seen, yeah, it'd be an exciting job to be a cop. Yeah, it'd be fun to get out there and do some crazy shit. Yeah, it'd be fun to be able to, do all that legally, kind of like how I did when I was a criminal, but in different ways legal. But I can't. Does it sound fun? Would I like to? Yeah. Am I going to? No. Am I actively doing any things you're doing? No. So let's take a difference between being a man, being honest, and just saying things that sound fun or things I could do versus what you're actively doing and trying to bait me and guilt me on. When I caught the same network of people who have extensively used what I said to police on a private call, not a 911 call, and slandered it to a network of gangs and criminals that ties to a level of extremism and criminality from business owners to fucking drug dealers and homeless people. And gang members in between and fucking, all sorts of fucking people. And then they've used that to falsify a delusion and narrative and run with a schizophrenic diagnosis based on things I was taught to support a conditioning of making me look that way, to take away from the facts and support, a network of this whole family extremism and, elite occult and just crazy bullshit, but then actually has ties to some of my old family history of being involved in religious extremism and organized crime, political extremism, and it tying to, medical extremism and, judicial extremism and all, organized corruption throughout it, fueling organized crime through the city and my family, of which I prove my kids were leveraged in a psychological aspect network of basically, taking advantage of me to basically say I'm crazy and push me out of the picture if that ever happened. And I identify these people are all involved in the same shit. My ex-girlfriend finds a dead body while at work. The guy she finds literally went through all the same things. They teach me all these things about people dying at the age 33 on deaths, on certain dates being like the 3-3 number or 12-3 being 1-2 being 3 like gematria teaches and all this stupid shit, right? But I identified that's when she found this body. That's when multiple people associated are arrested at 33. Multiple people die at 33 in the situation that fits all the conspiracy shit they taught me. She finds a guy that's dead on the same date. His literal life story is that he got with a girl and, and she accused him of all these things. He said he was framed. It shamed him, slandered him, got him in trouble. He lost his job. He became homeless, turned into an alcoholic, and he was homeless and fucking died. And it's like, that's what I proved the same network of people was trying to do to me and is involved in all this other shit. And they're literally like, it's a network of motherfuckers that fuel the justice system corruptly, fuel society, fuel the news with the motherfucking story of a crime that did happen, but there's corrupt faction in all of it because it's mafia basis and organized crime throughout the city that ties to a variety of, gangs, extremist groups, and just corrupt power places that be and plays that be in the way it's going on. And I'm just made out to be crazy for it. When it's my own family and people and I know it, and they leverage me in a situation, ratted on me, snitched on me, worked with police extensively and tried to frame me and take advantage of my own childhood trauma, ignore their own family bullshit and involvement and all of it, and just play fucking head games and victim and act like I had a narrative that I was out to get them because I catch them in a whole fucking scheme of trying to set me up and frame me and make me out to be crazy. And then now I got all this physical hell shit going on that's gotten 10 times worse over throughout it while they mock me with it, mimic it, talk to me about the things that are going on in my body that nobody should know but me. If I wake up one day and I have these crazy burning symptoms in places and ways I've never experienced, and then I go to work and people I've identified are a part of this family network, of which I've proven now that each job I get keeps connecting to it, even if I go to apply to it online. And that's why I say it's a network of extremists and organized crime that I keep finding the places that are hiring me are connected to this shit often than not, or get infiltrated by it, of which it seemingly is behind the corrupt aspect of investigative mannerism, rooted in covering everything up and just saying it's all me and schizophrenia and delusion, and not tying that they are doing it on purpose to create that because they're covering it up. And it's fucking sick. Like, it's just basically a demolition of my life that they don't care about reality. And they're gonna frame me and ruin my life no matter what, that I caught them what they're doing and leveraging my kid in an old corrupt scheme for the last 15 years that then ties to a network involved in multiple murders of people of everything I proved that's been psychologically used to abuse and harass me with or falsify guilt around while just saying I'm fucking crazy within the whole network of people doing the same thing within my own family and telling me all that of what they're doing and the same shit with the abuse and the same everything. It's fucking disgusting. And they're not accountable for anything they do or who they are at all. I'm not crazy. I'm not wrong. I'm not in a crisis beyond anything except what is circumstantial of what has been relied upon of me catching, the same family involved in inheriting $565,000 from my friend, being involved in the Portland police, fueling all this shit, being tied to a network of everything going on prior of the, informant people that got in my life that are associated with that before and were friends of mine and everything. This has been going on. It's a network of organized criminals that work with police, period. And they're involved in medical corruption and they use children to get away with shit. They use a variety of fucked up aspects, mental health, and destruction of people's lives. They literally murdered a man on fucking 182nd and fucking Division or Stark or whatever the fuck. And 186th and murdered him and said he was in a mental health crisis. And literally, and they literally come to my work and mock me for that. So either way, if you murdered him, you're mocking me for it, and if you're lying doing it, you're still obviously mocking me. You tie to the same people, and you're saying the same things I told the police when I proved you guys are an informant network trying to frame me, and now you're using the same people to harass me and spreading the things I said back to that and make me out as a snitch in the streets while leveraging my kid in it, and then same people telling me they love me and they just wish I didn't have these mental health problems and want everything to go away, and they just wish that I could come up with, more money to help support them and do this and do that. It's like, you guys it's fucking sick. Nobody will talk about the truth about how this ties to a whole network of motherfuckers that molest kids, frame people, murder their own friends because they deem they're gay or fucking weird, or identify the fact that, they have some kind of weird aspect to themselves and they can't talk about it, so they're just going to kill them. It's fucking sick. Like, these people are fucking sick, and I proved it. And they don't care about a thing of it. They'd rather bury me under behind my children. And I proved they used that and orchestrated that, did that for this whole plot. Now we're at the end game of destruction of my fucking life behind it.